Welcome to the October 5, 2022 meeting of the Board of Works of the City of Muncie. Would you please rise for pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us this morning. Roll call, please.
Ted Baker,
Present.
Lola Meyer,
Present.
Linda Gregory.
Present. I would accept a motion for the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the September 28th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Are there any corrections, additions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Wright, we'll handle claims now.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I sent out a listing of the claims for this week. There's really not a whole lot on it. We had on page 6 a claim for $47,059.50 paid to the Delaware County Auditor, and that is with an interlocal agreement with the county prosecutor, et cetera. So I will get a copy of that contract to you guys out in the email today, so you can read it in its entirety. We have a claim for $15,677 to Star Bank, and that was for the police vehicles, part of the monthly payment on that. And also with police on page 9, we have a claim for $27,900 to Pride Mark Construction for renovation in the basement. So, and in our usual health claims and utilities.
Yep.
So with that, I will open up any questions you might have.
Is there a mic at the podium today? Is it down?
It is.
Thank you.
Okay, you have to start over. No, I'm just teasing.
Ted, do you have any questions or
I don't.
comments?
I just have an observation on the invoice report that we get and such. Notice, again, this is that time of year where we see a lot of negative balances.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those you're very well aware of them.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And so it's just positioning and back
Correct.
and forth.
He
Okay.
was doing some
I
adjustments.
just wanted to make that known. Okay.
As long as it's done by December 31st.
That's right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that you're on top of it. Because at the beginning of the year, you can always exactly predict what you're going to spend during the year,
Sure.
right? That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Down to the penny.
No surprises anywhere. Lola, do you have any
I just have a
questions?
quick question on page 16, just for clarification. The $10,642 for finished building, can you remind us all what that is?
That is a donation from the edit funds to Brothers to Brothers. And they've come in front of the board before. That's the people, I believe they've been here, ones that help people in, the youth, et cetera. And that it's a donation from the edit department, or
And
from the edit funds to
I've
them.
worked with him a lot, so,
Yeah.
yeah. Great.
And I don't have any real questions, just an observation. Good many utilities, as we have, seems like every week, but fair smattering of utilities in this one. No real questions, everything that, see, one question, observation I did have, TUI seemed to have a lot of concession
Yeah.
From earlier dates.
and backdated for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I had a discussion with one of my people this morning on that. I said, is there any particular reason why those? I mean, we make the payments when we get them in, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there
Must
were
have sent them
some,
all in at the end of the season. it
yeah,
looks
I'm
like.
really surprised on the date on some of those myself. I think some were from May 31st and, yeah.
In general, does that operation break even?
All they did well this year.
Okay.
Yes, they were in the black.
Just, I mean, we don't have any way of knowing because we don't see receipts.
Mm-hmm.
We only see dispersals, so
Yeah, TUI had a very good year this year. They did end up on the plus side.
good. Glad to see that. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I would make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
And I would second it.
Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. The one item we have is our intention to evaluate the noise exemption form that we've been operating under. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions at this point?
If you have something to say, sure.
Oh, yes, I do. I didn't know that you guys were gonna be talking about this. This is
Yes, it's
actually
on
the
our
main-
agenda.
Main reason why I came here.
All right, if
Was-
you would identify yourself, please,
My name is Steve Hammer,
and you live where?
804 West Beechwood Avenue,
Okay,
right off of Fraternity Row. First of all, I'd like to thank, I believe it's Linda, for providing me some information. And I'd also like to recognize the Deputy Chief Chris Deegan for him bringing up his concerns. My real question on the whole process is there any criteria that the board has for approving these noise permits? Living a block off of Riverside, they're authorizing parties starting at 10:30 for 3 hours, 10 o'clock for 3 hours. One starts at 10:30 p.m. and planned to last for 4 hours. With the average student population of Ball State being under 21, by authorizing these parties, you're almost endorsing underage drinking. I noticed in the city code, what was it, 101, I believe? 101.1, where it talks about like prohibiting parties, and it mentions underage drinking. I call campus police to come over to the parties. They say they've got a permit. I'm now going to start calling campus police and asking them to check for underage drinking. Because if there's underage drinking, by the city code, the police department can deem that property as prohibited from having parties. My concern is really what criteria you use for authorizing parties, event social alcohol, fundraising, a concert. It's like, are there no venues in Muncie for them to have a concert at other than the front lawn of a frat house? To me, that just doesn't seem like the appropriate venue for a concert. Fraternity social event, and we're talking most of these are over 200 people. Are these buildings approved for 200 people inside? And the police, the deputy chief mentioned having the fire department, look into this. If they're having 200 people and the building's not zoned for that, then your party's outside. Party's outside, you can hear it on the street, 40 feet away on the street, let alone 2 blocks away in my bedroom with the windows closed. I'm just curious, what is the criteria for, if somebody wants to have a party and drink, they just have to ask for it?
no, first of all, we don't do any permitting of parties per se. All we do is noise exemption. We have no form and no procedure for authorizing parties as such.
So a social event with alcohol is the event.
If they ask for a noise exemption,
Correct.
we are exempting them from the noise ordinance. Not for, we don't give them permission to have a party.
Yeah, and at no time would we ever authorize underage drinking. We
No,
would
in
never do
fact,
that.
I ask about it.
And that's a question that's asked every time about drinking.
Right.
The other thing is, again, that's a policing activity.
But the police say they've got an exemption, so the police leave.
The police only have exemptions for if there's a noise exemption.
Okay, so I need to make my complaint more specific to the police, not complain about the noise, but complain about the party. Because the parties aren't authorized, the noise is authorized. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not saying the party's authorized.
Well, no,
even if
she
that-
said the party's not authorized, and I understand the party's not authorized. So can the police shut it down for it being a party separate
No.
from the noise?
No.
Okay, so who authorizes the parties, or how do I get the parties?
Nobody.
Nobody authorized it, they're just allowed for noise.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that Ball State has some, I know when student groups have come before us, Ball State Panhellenic Committee or whatever has some jurisdiction over parties and alcohol.
Yeah,
Okay.
and actually, Ball State has been very strict about that. And so they, well, I was in Ball State.
Okay.
They
I
operate.
lived there.
Yeah, Ball State operates, and the fraternities operate under the guidelines of the university, so they have to follow that. Can we control underage drinking? No, we don't want it,
Right.
but them having a party or not is not going to stop it if it's going to happen anyway.
But if you don't allow the noise, then and if you don't allow the noise till 2:30 in the morning, why you're authorizing noise to last until 2:30 in the morning is
And those are
almost
things that-
ludicrous.
And those are things that we're trying to deal with now. We're
Okay.
trying to figure that out
Okay.
because
Again, what is your criteria for, is there time for noise to be stopped? Because there's a noise ordinance supposedly to keep the peace in the city. But you're exempting that, so there is no peace, and you're exempting it till 2:30 in the morning in some cases.
We've been getting complaints, which is
Right.
the reason we're looking at this.
Right?
One of the items we're going to consider is shortening that time period that the exemption can be valid.
Right. I mean, they're starting at 10:30 and going till 2:30.
Well,
Yeah,
as I
I mean,
said,
I-
we are going to look at changing that.
At one time, I was in college age, and I went to college, and I partied. I don't mind them partying till 2:30 in the morning. When I've got to work the next day,
yeah.
is a little difficult, and seems to contradict a city having a noise ordinance.
Well, one of the things that we
And
want
it's every weekend.
So one of the things we want to do is we want to be practical, and we don't want to be too restrictive, but at the same time, we want to be common sense wise, of
Right.
course. And so that means understanding what your neighbors feel like. I mean, making sure that your neighbors are aware of it.
Right.
The other thing is, in any noise exemption and things that we do, we have to make sure that it's enforceable. And who does it fall onto is the already overburdened police department. And so we have to be careful that we don't put things on them that, are not reasonable.
Right.
Am I correct, officer?
You need to,
Yeah, come on up.
You need to come to
Could you
the
come on
podium.
up? This is Officer Deegan. He's our hero here, so.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm understanding the most recent statements, it's who enforces if there is no noise ordinance. That would be us. That would be the police department.
Correct.
And we have no issue doing that because that's obviously going to resolve problems for us. Part of my claims a couple weeks ago were when they have the exemption, it makes it difficult for us to obviously shut down whatever the event is. If they don't, I can get a slew of police officers up there in a matter of minutes to close it to not have to deal with it for the rest of the evening. So that was really the purpose of us coming up here to begin with, is once we drag on beyond, the midnight hours, like I said, nothing good happens after midnight, right?
That's right.
So that's kind of why we were looking at that, and obviously the length or duration. I don't know if you were privy to or seeing the notes from last week's meeting, but I just came in and made a recommendation, asked for a map as part of the process, so you
Correct.
can see who's impacted by this.
Sure.
But that's all I got as far as the police department's concerned on that right now. Okay?
Yeah, and one of the things, sir, we're working on too is to make sure that anybody who receives a noise exemption has to get it cleared through the police department first. And so we're trying to preempt some of this, make sure that we work in advance, not after the fact. And then the other thing is, what does the noise exemption mean?
Right.
Because we don't want to take the authority out of the police department's hands. On the other hand, we don't want it to be so burdensome to them that all they're doing is running around enforcing this. And by the way, if you say there's parties all the time or this, we only have received a handful of exemption requests all summer.
Yeah.
Really just a few compared to if it's every weekend.
I might be-
September 15th, September 16th, September 20th, September 15th, September
Yeah.
24th,
I can touch on this.
September 30th.
Go for it.
I can touch on this. I think his primary complaint is when the ones that you guys do approve, ward spreads. And so that's typically where everybody congregates to. And the ones that we've had the last couple of weekends haven't been just a couple hundred people. We're nearing the 1,000 mark on people at some of these venues. And I got another email about it this weekend from one that was approved. I don't have the address handy. I wasn't going to address it today. I was just going to wait until we talked about it again.
Okay,
But it does present a safety issue. So
thank you. I appreciate your feedback there.
I mean, I understand events like homecoming and events, but just because they want to have a party to get a noise exemption, to me is, I've raised teenage children, they had a curfew. Well, I want to go out Friday night till 2 o'clock. Why? Well, because I'm going out with friends. Okay, well, I'll give you an exemption. But when it happens every week, that's no longer exemption, that's now policy. And to me, it seems like the city's policy is you can party till 2:30 in the morning as long as you get an exemption. And to me, it's like, why have a noise ordinance if you don't enforce the noise ordinance by allowing exemptions?
Okay, we will consider your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And the board is working on it, so thank you.
So, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this topic? What's your pleasure?
I mean, I think if we're going to follow this through, we need to take a look at the ordinance and go to the appropriate parties to have the ordinance redrafted. And I'd love to make sure that we include the fire department and the police department, just to make sure that we have those bases covered. Also, I don't know if it's appropriate to include any counsel from Ball State. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but it seems like to me that that's where a lot of the problems originate. But I
Not
don't.
all.
Yeah, not all. Some, but a lot. But not that. I mean, I'm sure the Muncie Police Department can handle that just fine. I mean, that's their work together.
What are you suggesting that we propose in terms of changing the ordinance? Anything specific?
Well, I would like to take Officer Deegan's recommendation of providing a map so that we know the impact.
But that, I don't think that would require or ordinance change. I mean,
Okay.
that's part of our policy.
Okay, so that's
That's
like
information we need for
making the decision.
justifying an exemption.
Well, and that's kind of what I mean, is making sure
Okay.
that we have a plan to how do we approve these? I mean, I think it's common sense that neighbors should be notified and recommended and make sure. How far that goes, I don't know. Go for it.
we do a lot with kind of policy and procedure and city ordinance stuff. I'd be more than happy to put together a draft of what we as the police department, and I can work with the fire department,
I love it.
would suggest you take a look at moving forward, if that would be acceptable to you guys as the board.
Are you suggesting taking the present form that we use and modifying that? Is that what you have in mind, or are you talking about something, an additional
Yeah,
document?
it would just be a modification, just like when
Okay.
state statute gets updated, the old law gets repealed, new law gets put in place. I think we could probably put together a procedural aspect of this to bring to you and present to you for you
That'd be
guys to
fine.
review.
Yeah, and I would volunteer. We can't do it outside of public together, but one of us can meet with
Yes.
you, and I'd be happy
Sure.
to coordinate that with you if you need to be.
Absolutely. Like I said, we work very closely with our legal team, and then we can cross paths with
Because-
fire and Ball State.
Again,
As a-
we want this to be practical,
Sure.
Yeah.
enforceable, but also not too restrictive.
Right.
But yet, we have to be common sense minded.
Well, the things I'm most interested in would be the length of time, and as you've suggested, midnight is an appropriate time in my book. A map would be good, and there was one other thing, and I keep forgetting what it is.
Signatures of neighbors?
No, that I think would probably border on needing to change the ordinance.
There's some specificity in there already for how, when you come seek these exemptions, they have to seek, or they have to clear with the impacted areas that they're gonna do this.
Okay.
Okay, so
But it's
that-
very vague. I would probably clean that up a little bit
Great.
to actually make that a portion of the enforceable part of getting an exemption.
I think it's important also to make sure that there's time allowed. I mean, people can't come in today and want a noise exemption for tomorrow.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we need to firm up that length of time
Sure.
ahead of time so that we can react, we can, make changes if we
Right,
have
of
to.
course.
So,
And those would be instances from a police department response standpoint when we know if we've got, hey, they followed all the procedure, they were correct in this, there's 3 that are gonna be in the university area for homecoming, I'll use that as an example. That allows us as the police department, and I won't speak for fire, but there are some things I'm sure that they would wanna do as well, but from a practical response standpoint, that would be something that we would probably authorize overtime for additional people in for if we knew that we were gonna have this impacted area for this impacted time.
yeah, because if we're going to be upward of 1,000 people or so, I mean, that becomes a safety issue too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always, I'll get with you guys after, we could talk even more about some of the response that we've had.
Okay.
Well, the other thing you might want to consider in that too is some kind of description of what kind of sound and noise is anticipated. I mean, they're going to have gigantic speakers,
Yeah.
in all 4 corners of the property, or,
Sure.
so we cut it off at 90 decibels, but what do they anticipate as the upper end of that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I ordered some decibel meters, and I intend to meet with the city judge to discuss what the practical enforcement rules would
Okay.
be. So we've started on our end. I can work with legal and put together kind of a draft of what we think it should look like for safety purposes, and I'd be more than happy to bring it back to you guys.
I don't think we can set an upper level. The ordinance doesn't allow us to do that. I mean, it says what the lower, you can't exceed this.
Can't
but
exceed,
it
no,
doesn't-
no, you can't, no.
But we don't have, but if we had some idea, you might be able to better anticipate what kind of policing is going to be.
Sure, and there's obviously noises that are included in the noise ordinance statute now that are already exempt, or there are ones that don't qualify for the actual statute, so to speak.
And I think the form now says it's a 3-week notice. Are we still good with the 3 weeks? Because I think some have come in like the week before. Or...
Yeah, the form now states 3 weeks. We would like to most certainly see it be 3 weeks, if not 4.
Yeah,
That gives
well,
us
let's
plenty.
do 3, I mean, because
Sure.
frankly, if we're asking for 4 weeks, they're not even, in terms of the campus events, they're not even on campus 4 weeks ahead of time.
Sure.
So, much less 5, because it takes a week or so to,
Sometimes they're going to have
Get
to work
all
to
their
plan-
signatures,
Right.
so-
Sometimes they're going to have to work to plan a little bit better.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's part of living, right?
Yep.
You're right.
Okay, so I will leave it to you two to
Okay.
get together.
I'll get with
and,
you.
And thank you for your interest and your
Yeah,
follow-up with that. That's
Sure.
really appreciated.
no problem at all.
Okay. Moving on to new business, we have a temporary parking request from the Bohannons, and I don't see them here. Linda, do you know, were they instructed to be here?
No, she mailed it to the
Okay.
office, so.
I don't personally have a problem with proceeding on this one. It's a temporary parking request for 901 North Briar from 4 to 10 p.m. Normally, that's a no parking area, and this is for a social gathering they're doing.
Is that for like a homecoming weekend?
It's for
No,
the
weekend
15th,
before.
so no.
Okay, the week
it's not
before, okay.
homecoming.
It says it's an economic department drop-in, so I imagine students or alumni.
Yeah,
I have no problem with proceeding with that.
okay, do you want to make a motion to
I make a
approve?
motion to approve the
Second.
permit.
And just as an FYI, is this something we need to amend this form some way and say, you must be present at a meeting to discuss or not? I mean, that's just something we might want to think about.
Okay, we can think about that.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the last item on our list is, this request is for,
As on the agenda, the Melise McDaniel.
yeah, but it doesn't say what the request is for. Do you want to come to the mic and introduce yourself?
And here's on Celia. Yeah.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Melise McDaniel, and in December, I will have purchased a commercial building 2 years ago. And the back of the property almost butts up to an old abandoned house that was torn down last fall. And I believe, and several people have said that all used to be one property at some time, a very old house, and the limestones match, and I understand it was one property. But when it was sectioned off, before I purchased it, there's no room at the back of, there are 2 offices downstairs. It's a 2-story building, and I have nowhere for a van or anybody to load or unload, or if I remodel, bring in carpeting or whatever, it's only about 2 or 3 feet. Also, and the new owners, it's just a field, and it's a good-sized property. The owners are on the other side. And also, and I can't mow. There's like right where the property ends, there's like a little hill, and they just put a string up the other day. That's why I'm here. And, it's like a little hill, so I can't mow. I'm the one that does the mowing with a little riding lawnmower. And also I can't get up and I can't get down the hill since they've put that string up. All I'm asking is just a few feet easement. I know my dad, when we were growing up, had an easement at the back of the property so he could bring in whatever, to his yard. And I don't know if you all allow little easements anymore.
Well, so I believe the issue here is, and the property that you're asking for, just a little prior research from the city engineer too, is that the city doesn't own that property.
Right.
The city can't issue an easement for property they don't own
There-
that way, without going through.
Well, like my dad's property, that was a personal property that bought that, and my dad's personal property, and the city allowed, 8 foot just to get a truck in or
That's
unload.
the way it is with a lot of properties, so that where utility will work and such. Adam, do you want to address this? Maybe you have a little bit more. I'm sorry to bring you in, but you're here.
That's okay. I'm very new at this, so I don't know anything about it.
And these are the photos.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Ted pretty much hit the nail on the head. The Board of Works or the city, we can't issue easements on things we don't own, because an easement is a conveyance of a right, so you have to have a right to the property in the first place. Whereas this is private property, we have no right to give it away. Actually kind of runs counter to the Constitution in a couple of places on that one. What probably happened and would need to happen here is, you can basically talk to your neighbor and purchase an easement from them, and you would just have to have that recorded at the courthouse. But the Board of Public Works, the city, cannot do that unilaterally, and technically we would normally not purchase property for the private benefit of, anyone other than the city.
So Adam, the easement she's talking about, like her father and such, because like even in my house behind us, we have to allow so much for an easement, but those are for in case utilities need to get through. But those were pre-done in advance, right?
Typically, so like if MSD needs to run across somebody's yard, we'll go out and buy an easement from that property owner, and then MSD is the owner of that easement. The same thing goes for, if for whatever reason we were to lay out a new alley, the city would have to go and, purchase that easement from the private property owner at market rates. we can do that for anything the city needs, but doing it for individual owners is not something we do.
So your recommendation is to Melissa is to work with the property owner to come up to some agreement to figure it out what needs to happen.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there's telephone poles and the city's coming in back there. They're painting all over the back of my property. So there's telephone poles, there's electrical boxes. So I'm just wondering, perhaps, somebody could, and I don't want to purchase or take away from them. I just want the permission just to get my lawn mowed back there, and once in a blue moon, maybe once every several years, be able to back a van up. So my offices, because they can't do it from the front. It's very little corners and hallways, very skinny. You cannot unload carpeting, a roll of carpet, a big piece of machinery, and one of my printing. The printing office has big pieces of machinery, and he's trying to sell some of that off now. There's not going to be anywhere for him to get it out of the building.
So my recommendation would be simply to talk to the landowner, and you can easily find out who owns that piece.
Yeah, I think it's the neighbors on the other side.
And maybe it's just a matter of just getting permission to use the land. Just say, look, I don't want to own it, I just want to be able to use it.
With what frequency and?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be every week in the summer to
Well,
mow.
I
I
would-
have to be able to get up the little itty bitty hill because I sit and spin anyway. If I mow after a day or so, I can't get up the hill without a few feet to, runway.
I might recommend, when you have that discussion, that following that, you put it in writing, have the other person sign it and date it,
Okay.
and give them a copy. You may ultimately need to involve an attorney in this.
And I don't want to do that.
I know, but
You
I'm
just want to,
saying
you just
that
want to
may
use
be-
it.
That
Yeah.
may be
Well, what
what,
about calling MSD and seeing, because everything they've been doing back there, they keep painting off things behind the building. I don't even know what it is, and they put little flags and stuff. What is that? I don't even know what it is. All I know is I have to take the flags out to mow. That's all. What is it anyway?
That's a utility locate, so anytime anyone plans to do demolition, digging, construction work of any sort, they have to call on a utility locate. And
Why do they
you're-
keep painting?
That's where they paint where the lines are underground.
Okay, how often do they've done that a bunch.
well, if you're mowing off that paint, they have to come out and redo it.
By law, if someone calls in a locate, we have to do it within 72 hours. So anytime anyone calls in a locate for their area, they have to go out and paint it again. So someone is calling in the locates. I don't know who's doing it, but someone's calling in a
Okay.
locate. And, the red lines are the electric company, the orange lines are the telecoms.
Oh, yeah, there's, it's always different colors.
Yep.
So there's no utility company that I could call?
So it's,
For them-
once again, these are rights that are conveyed. So
Okay.
the electric company says, hey, I want a right to maintain my poles, put a pole up,
Yeah,
maintain the
and
line.
there's two of them back there.
They can't convey that right to you because your right is a right of access. They have a right of a utility, which are different rights.
Different, okay. All right, well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry we
Thank
weren't able to solve your problem, but
Okay,
hopefully
well,
we
I'm gonna
get.
mow anyway, so the strings are gonna have to come down when I mow. I guess I'll put them back up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before us today?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Chris Deegan, Muncie Police Department. I have something here. This is probably my fault. I dropped the ball because we've been discussing the noise ordinance issues the last couple of weeks. About 6 months ago, we came before the board with a contract for an investigator for the child crimes unit for us. Do you all recall that?
Vaguely.
Vaguely, yeah. The 6 months has come due. I have the contract here that she's signed. If you'd be willing to entertain it today, I'd be more than happy to bring it up for you to review. If not, I can put it on the agenda for next week, however you'd like to.
Is
deal
it to
with
renew it?
It's to renew the contract, yes. We would ask that the contract be renewed. We're still not fully staffed. That was the terms and conditions of the contract.
And funds are available to take care of it?
Correct.
I have no problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it either.
Do you want me to bring you a
Sure.
copy of this to review? Okay.
We like to be as flexible as we need to be. So just the one copy.
I'm sorry, yeah, it's just the one.
That's all right.
For, I didn't make more copies, honestly. Thought we
That's
might
all
need to
right.
wait until next week, so.
We'll be
This is
fine.
fine. Well,
Okay, so this is a contract with Linda Cook.
With Linda Cook to serve as a subcontractor. She's a retired veteran police officer from here that worked several years in the child crimes unit.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. Having her up there has been a godsend to that unit and to our investigative capability. And we have the funds, and we are not staffed, so we would like to offer her an extension of 6 months.
Okay,
Excellent.
I'd make a motion to accept the contract to extend her contract for another 6 months. Is that right?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Second.
any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Anything else to come before us?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Stacy Marlowe with Just Jeep in Delaware County, and we did a Christmas parade last year you guys approved, and I'm just here to ask for permission to do that again this year.
You need to file a parade
I
permit.
have done all that, yeah.
She's
Do we-
done it, but I was putting her on the agenda for next week,
Oh,
so I didn't bring
They
it.
told me this week when I went, so.
Is it something we could take care of today, or since she's here?
has she paid the is this one
Yeah,
that,
she's paid it, I just
Okay.
didn't put it on the agenda for today.
I'm sorry.
let's do this, since it's not on the agenda. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it, let us ask questions, and we can actually approve it next week. You would not need to be here
That's what I
for
was
that.
hoping that.
Okay.
Since it's not, what's the date?
December 10th.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
From 6 to 10, or 6 to 7, I'm sorry. We will start at Southway Plaza, such as we did last year, and we'll go down Madison Street, curve around Martin Luther King, and end at the Muncie Mall.
And are you requesting that streets be closed?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've already got permission from the fire chief and police chief, so.
Those signatures are already on the form.
Okay.
How many do you anticipate? How many did you have last year?
We had about 50, 60 vehicles last year, I believe. I at least that this year as well.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay. Well, we will remember all that for next week and actually deal with it next week. If you want to be here, you're welcome to, but I don't think
Okay.
it's necessary.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good solution.
Anything else? If not, we will see you next week.
That was a really good suggestion.
Well, we try.
Well, I mean, you don't want to be, people, but look,